You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome to Inspiring Leaders. I'm Donna Newman, your host for our show, and thank you for watching our program. Through this show, we meet community leaders and we examine how they're using their unique talents and skill sets to make a difference. And through our discussions, we hope to inspire others to discover and to share their own leadership abilities for the overall betterment of our community. Now, today on our show, we'll talk with an organization whose mission is to be a relentless force for a world of longer, healthier lives. Pretty bold, broad, and ambitious for a mission statement, and perfectly appropriate, because today we're honored to welcome the American Heart Association of the Mid-South. Now, in this first portion of our show, we'll meet Trey Morris, Executive Director of the American Heart Association of the Mid-South, along with board member Dr. Cassandra Howard. And in our second segment, Trey and I will be joined by Robyn Sharp, also a board member of the Mid-South American Heart Association. Now joining us now, Trey Morris, Executive Director, and Dr. Cassandra Howard, board member of the American Heart Association of the Mid-South. Thank you both so much for being here. We really appreciate your participation today. Let's start with you, Trey. Trey, you've been in the area before. You're from this area, and you moved away for a while. You've been with a number of nonprofit organizations along the way, but you decided to come back home. Tell me, how long have you been with the American Heart Association, and why was it a good fit for you?
Sure. Well, thanks for having us. This is a pleasure and an honor, so we're glad to be here to talk about the American Heart Association. I've been with the organization for just over 3 years. So I started in December of 2019. Happened to be that year, I lost my mother to heart disease.
Oh.
She had suffered for many years with complications and in a weak heart. And just so happens, about 2 weeks before I started with the American Heart Association, I had my own heart issue that I had fixed and repaired. So I didn't know it was going to be my initiation to the organization, but here I am.
Well, so it's partly personal, partly from your family, and partly the community then, huh?
Yes, it's heart disease is something, as we'll talk about today, heart disease is the #1 issue affecting health in our country. More people are dying from heart disease than any other cause. And so, we're all could be at risk of heart disease, and I've certainly had it in my family and have my own personal experience with it, and just pleased to work for an organization that's trying to make a difference.
Good. That's a really strong reason, and I'm sure they're happy to have you here.
We hope so.
We are.
Well, one of your board members is with us today as well, a couple of your board members, in fact. Dr. Howard, Dr. Cassandra Howard, you have quite the background. You've been with the military, you've advised the Pentagon, you've been in all kinds of posts with Methodist, and now they're Chief Medical Officer for Methodist University Hospital. How in the world do you find the time to spend with American Heart Association, and why do you think it's important?
Wow. Well, good morning, and thank you for having me. And yes, we are very fortunate to have Trey. So yes, I'm a very busy physician executive with Methodist University and an Air Force officer in the Tennessee Air National Guard. And I just find the things that are important to us, we make time. And for me personally, I try to be very scheduled so that I don't overcommit and underdeliver. And the American Heart Association is one area where I really prioritize that time to serve and offer my leadership. And so, Trey, working with him, he keeps us very organized on the board. And I really enjoy serving a lot of the Mid-South events that we sponsor.
I think that's wonderful. It's a wonderful way to spend time, also making a difference in people's lives. So I thank both of you for that. Well, okay, so you referenced it a minute ago, and let's circle back to it. You each told me that cardiovascular disease is the #1 killer of all adults, and you also both said that it's preventable. Yes. So let's break it down. When you say it's the #1 killer, not cancer, not diabetes, tell me, not cancer, not diabetes.
Yeah. Heart attacks, strokes. So when we say cardiovascular, we're referring to the heart and those organs that are downstream of your blood vessels being served by that oxygen-rich blood that the heart pumps. So without a healthy heart, without healthy vessels, you suffer organ damage, and a lot of people unfortunately die from heart attacks and or strokes. So the American Heart Association is very focused on prevention, education, and awareness.
One of the things that you said was that there was a great difference between heart disease and cardiovascular disease. Is that what you were just referencing?
Yes, ma'am. So when we say, heart disease, most people think of heart attacks, but we really want our community to understand that it's not only heart attacks, but strokes as well are responsible for a significant amount of morbidity, disease and illness, and mortality, death.
And it's, a lot of the time I hear about women and heart attacks, but it's much more than that, isn't it?
It is.
Didn't you tell me all adults? Is that right? See, that is so hard for me to grasp. It really is. I always assumed that it was cancer because you hear about that so much. I hear about women so much because I see you wearing your red pin.
Yes.
You do have a strong Go Red for Women campaign as one of your awareness pieces, correct?
Definitely.
And Dr. Howard was actually, when I came on into my current role with the Heart Association, she was our first chair of our Go Red for Women campaign that I was able to work with. So unfortunately, her stint as chair was interrupted a little bit by COVID, and so it caused us to handle and present the campaign a little differently than we would typically. But she was a great chair, and we have chosen to keep her on and keep her close to the Heart Association.
I can see that. I can see. And may I point out also that you're, when I say doctor, that's a medical doctor. That's not a PhD. That's not anything else. It's a real life. So you're speaking to us and to the Heart Association as a doctor, and that brings great credibility to the organization, doesn't it?
Yes.
It does, because the organization, next year in 2024, we will celebrate the 100th anniversary of the American Heart Association. Yes. So this organization started by a group of physicians in 1924. So it was really built by physicians for physicians. They wanted to have an opportunity in an organization where they could share information so that they could work to improve cardiovascular disease just across the country. So started with physicians, and we have grown because of that, but we have expanded into other areas of addressing issues that are outside of the medical field, that we know that nutrition and physical fitness, those sorts of things contribute to one's risk factors for cardiovascular disease. So we're addressing those while we're also continuing to fund research and work with great minds in our medical community to deliver better care.
And speaking of great minds, you are encouraging young people, are you not, through Scholars at Heart? Is that what the program's called?
Yes, so we've been able to implement, we're in our second year of our Scholars with Heart program. It's a program focused on historically black colleges and universities. So we're working with Lemoyne-Owen College here locally, and we're pairing those students that are usually studying biology in school, interested in exploring healthcare careers, research careers. We're partnering with our healthcare organizations locally to give those kids the mentoring and the exposure that they need to advance their studies and hopefully their careers.
And one of your board members is very active with that too. The president of your board, Dr.
John Jeffries is our current board president, and he is facilitating that program on our behalf.
And more on the women part. So 2 years ago, looked like a pivotal time for the American Heart Association, a year after you got here, and some big changes for how you approach the getting people involved that are younger, and also the campaign for Go Red for Women. Haven't you introduced a new program now called Women of Impact? What is that about?
You'll talk about that.
Sure. This is a new. We're in our second year of our Women of Impact campaign, and we use the campaign to spotlight and recognize women all across our community in all different fields and walks of life, but who are making a difference in their sphere and in their network to uplift the community. And when we say uplift, we're typically talking about the overall health of our community. They could be educators, they certainly could be medical professionals, they could be corporate leaders, and we have 9 women this year that are being recognized and honored. And in fact, they kicked off about a week ago on early February.
That's wonderful. I'll check your Facebook page and everything else to look for that. So, a prescription for us, Doctor, for the Mid-South. What do you recommend that we do? Because we do have our share of health issues here.
We do. I think as a passionate physician partnering with the American Heart Association, the message, the educational message that we deliver is consistent with what any physician would recommend. Know your risk factors. It's important if you know your family history. That's one thing that we need to mitigate. So if you have a family history of heart attacks, heart disease, hypertension, diabetes, to mitigate those risk factors with a healthy diet. And that doesn't mean you're relegated to only carrots and celery sticks, right? We talk about a well-balanced plate, variety of colors, vegetables, fruits, proteins, but moderation. I'm a chocoholic. I'll steal a little piece of chocolate every now and then, but that can't be my entire diet.
But you don't eat the whole bar.
Don't eat the whole bar. Exercise. It doesn't mean you have to don your tutu and go run a marathon. Maybe park a little further back in the parking lot and walk a little further. Maybe take a flight of steps instead of the elevator for every trip. Smoking cessation. Those avoidable risk factors. We know that tobacco abuse is not healthy for your heart, your blood vessels, nor the brain. So diet, exercise, controlling those risk factors that you have, hypertension, diabetes, and getting an annual checkup so that you know what your risk factors are and can talk to a professional to mitigate those. That is what we need to do to help decrease our rates.
Thank you so much for sharing your information, your knowledge, and your experience with us today. And thank you so much as well, Trey. Will you stay with us for our next guest?
Absolutely.
All right. Well, thank you both so much for being here and for all that you do for our community.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to pause now for a short break. When we return, American Heart Association Executive Director Trey Morris and I will be joined by board member Robyn Sharp to talk more about the American Heart Association of the Mid-South.
Camera 1, switch audio, cue talent.
So GHS-TV was started in 1982 by Frank Bluestein, the department's founder.
It's a multi-million-dollar television studio, and students who are a part of it have the opportunity to do real-world work.
Welcome to GHS Insider, the show.
What makes this program unique is the students here. We come with a lot of potential and a lot of talent, and we also come with the mindset of we have to do this, we can do this.
In this class, we really have the ability to be as creative as we want to be.
On the show today, we take you to the side. When you see yourself on a screen, it's a feeling where it's like I actually contributed to something, actually did something that matters to people.
We have fun days, like when we do shows and we do a really good show, it's that adrenaline of like, oh wow, we just did a really good show, we did it. Hey everyone, I'm Brooklyn White.
And there's a real sense of pride that comes from completing a show that you have written, produced, thought of on your own. And that sense of pride is really important, and it keeps us motivated because we want to do more. We want to experience that feeling again.
We're always pushing the kids. We're always challenging them, and they rise to the challenge.
So the program has absolutely changed a lot for me. It has given me a view into the arts and has let me see that I really do enjoy working behind a camera as well as in front of the camera.
The future of our program really, a lot of times, is up to the students. It's their willingness to see beyond what is here and what it can be. Year to year, it changes with the students, but the ability of the students never changes.
Go Red Devils!
For more information about the Kappa program, visit ghskappa.com or call 755-7775. You're watching the award-winning GHS-TV, a nationally recognized student television station.
Welcome back. I'm your host, Donna Newman, and you're watching Inspiring Leaders. We're pleased to continue talking now with Executive Director Trey Morris and to be joined by board member Robyn Sharp, both with our American Heart Association of the Mid-South. Thank you so much for staying with us, Trey, and welcome, Robyn.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
I'm so happy that you're with us today. I'm happy that you're both here. And I'm so thrilled to be talking about the American Heart Association. Now, Robyn, this is also a volunteer position for you. I believe you're senior manager of the supply chain for International Paper?
Yes, I am. I've been with International Paper 20 years in March. I started when I was 10. Just wanted you to know that. 20 years in March, and I have been a part of the American Heart Association. The COVID years kind of add up differently during the pandemic.
We don't even have to count those.
We don't even have to count those, yeah. So I've been on the board for 2 to 3 years, depending upon which calendar we use, but active with American Heart Association for about 6 or 7. Yeah.
So why the American Heart Association? Why is it important to you?
Yeah, so thanks for asking that. In 2012, both my parents actually have heart disease. And in 2012, my father had a motorcycle accident and then got to the hospital to treat for his motorcycle accident injuries and then proceeded to have a heart attack. And it was a very rare kind of heart attack caused by the impact of the motorcycle, the impact of the accident. And so it needed to be treated very, very quickly. They were in a rural area. He needed to be helicoptered to a medical center that could do that with a cath lab. And someone actually performed CPR on him for 10 to 12 minutes. And that's typically not what you see on TV, right?
No.
You're doing chest compressions, clear, they shock, comes back. My dad couldn't be shocked back, and so they kept going through these cycles, and someone just continued to do that with skill, was an EMT, but they didn't give up. And it shows that, first of all, shows what you can do with proper training, and it also shows the importance of knowing CPR. So I got involved with the Heart Association after that with the Heart Walk, which I know we're going to talk about today in this segment.
Yeah, so that's one of the main thrusts, though, of the American Heart Association, isn't it? The awareness, the education. So that's really kind of interesting that...
Yes, at a recent board meeting, we were actually recertified on hands-only CPR. And it was right after the football player got injured and he had cardiac arrest. And so we were all re-taught how to do it. Here's the deal, it's 2 steps. It's number 1, if someone is having a cardiac event, they go into cardiac arrest, either having a heart attack or whatever. It's 2 steps. 1 is call 911, right? Or you direct someone to call 911. And the other is to commence with chest compressions, fast and I could say hard, but there's probably a better word. I say fast and hard. It's on my card that I look at. But actually, by doing hands-only CPR, you can increase the life expectancy of someone going through an event like that 2 to 3 times. And we have resources.
So even if you've been certified before with resuscitation, Annie, and all of that, the new hands-only CPR could take some more study and actually would probably be more widely used because people are not likely to want to put their mouth on somebody else, especially after COVID. Is that correct?
That's that's pretty spot on. It's more accessible to more people. They're more comfortable doing it. It does take strength, you know, and you have to be fairly, you have to be persistent. You have to be aggressive with your CPR approach, because you know the individual that you have could die if not performed quickly. So it's okay to be aggressive to try to keep the patient alive.
Oh, well, gosh, you've educated me right now, because the whole hands-free one is a whole different, I need to be recertified myself. So that's...
Well, come to our Heart Walk and we can help you do that.
I think that's a great idea and a great opening to talk about Heart Walk.
That's right, there you go.
Now, Heart Walk is one of my favorite topics. I know it's one of yours because you are co-chairing it, is that right?
Well, I'm not co-chairing, I'm on the executive leadership team. I won't sign up for that yet, Trey. But no, we have actually Eric Brown with Valero is the chair of the Heart Walk this year, but I am part of the executive leadership team.
Tell us all about it. Tell us what happens. I mean, clearly I'm not a runner. So do I go? Do I walk? I mean,
Absolutely.
How does it work?
So the Heart Walk is, first and foremost, it's a great community event. It is our largest fundraiser for the American Heart Association Mid-South. And for this year it is. And it is, all walks of life, it's a walk. First of all, it's meant to bring awareness. It's meant to understand that movement, just like what Dr. Howard was talking about in the previous segment, is being fit, getting that muscle, after all it is a muscle, getting that muscle to move doesn't require running a marathon. It doesn't require doing high impact working out or anything like that. It really is just movement, moving our bodies. And the Heart Walk celebrates that. And what I've always enjoyed about the mission of the Heart Walk, and it ties of course with the mission of the Heart Association, is all these teams coming together, your colleagues, your church, your friends and family who have been impacted, is coming together and celebrating just moving your body in honor of the ticker, right? So we have the Heart Walk, which there is a 3-mile course, and it's all downtown. As well as there's a shorter course. So if you're not wanting to walk 3 miles or you feel you can't, there is a shorter distance. And by the way, we don't time the Heart Walk, and we also don't monitor if you cheat. So if you need to take a different turn and swing back around, that's perfectly fine. We want people to be a part of the mission and not worry about performance nerves of doing a competitive something.
I get you. So, all right, date?
It is, oh my gosh, it's April 28th.
April 22nd.
There we go.
April 22nd, FedEx Forum
There you
downtown.
go.
Beautiful course through South Main, along the riverfront. It's a great event for the family.
Yeah, I promised I was going to show up on the right date.
Yes.
I wasn't going to show up a week later. I just go by where my phone tells me.
Is there an entry fee?
So for the Heart Walk, even though it is our largest fundraiser, there is not an entry fee. We do encourage people to seek donations or make a personal donation, but there is no entry fee for that. This year, we do have a timed 5K. If people are interested in a competitive event, it is at the same time. It's called the Run in Red 5K, and that does have an entry fee of $35. But again, the Heart Walk, get to do the exact same course as the 5K, walking through downtown Memphis, is free.
Okay, so, but you sure would welcome donations, correct?
Absolutely. It funds our mission.
Exactly,
It does.
exactly, and a worthy way to do that too. So thank you both so much for the work that you do for our community. Thank you so much for being here with us today and talking about it. April 22nd.
Yeah, thank you, Donna. I'll remember that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll pick you up.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you guys so much again for being here.
Donna, thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you.
And thank you for being with us today for Inspiring Leaders. We appreciate our guests on today's show, Trey Morris, Dr. Cassandra Howard, and Robyn Sharp, all with the American Heart Association of the Mid-South. Let's help spread the word about their exceptional work with heart health, and please do support and volunteer for our American Heart Association so they can continue their extraordinary work for our community. Now, if you'd like further information on the American Heart Association of the Mid-South, their website is heart.org, and then search for our local chapter. Again, heart.org, and navigate around to our local organization. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for their upcoming 2023 Mid-South Heart Walk Run in Red, scheduled for April 22nd, again, April 22nd for the Heart Walk. Now, if you're interested in the air dates of Inspiring Leaders or for the station's complete programming information, then visit GHS-TV.org, where we're streaming live 24 hours a day. You can keep up with GHS-TV by visiting our website. We hope you'll like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube. Thank you again for joining us, and be sure and watch our show, Inspiring Leaders, again next month.